Thank you for joining us. It is my pleasure to introduce someone who sits at the intersection of innovation, strategy, and operational excellence. Alla Winston, my friend.
Thank you, Jacqui.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to have a very cool discussion about what is going on. But before we do that, let me share a little bit about what Alla does. How many of you in the audience know what a CIO does? There you go. No intro necessary yet. But it's a very tough job. Now, Alla is responsible for leading technology strategy across the Americas region for one of the world's largest and most respected financial institutions, MUFG. And with over 2 decades of experience, Alla really does have a unique blend and depth of everything that we see in the tech world, not just from critical infrastructure, but cybersecurity, AI, and all of it. And prior to her current role, Alla held senior leadership positions at firms like JP Morgan and Bank of America, where she led very difficult transformations, and I know what that feels like, having been in your shoes for decades as well. So let's jump into it. What we wanted to talk about today was really redefining the CIO. Now, for those of you who have been in the industry a long time, we've seen the shifts in technology. And the one that we're going through now is probably one of the toughest ones
yes.
In our careers. So let's jump into it, Alla, and let's talk about the modern CIO mandate. How has the CIO role changed in the last 5 years? Let's start with that. We'll warm up.
Okay, to warm up, that's a really good question. And Jacqui, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And everyone, thank you for being here today. Really excited about the conversation. Modern CIO. So let's just talk about CIO. I don't know how modern. Last 5 years. So I think the biggest difference in the current modern CIO is that we are at the table. As a technologist, and I don't know how many are here just purely technologists like myself, we finally showed up in the last, let's call it 5 years, at the business table as a businesses. We run probably, Jacqui and I were talking about it, we're running probably one of the largest, not just expense budgets, but the P&L budgets when it comes to the technology in the business.
We are responsible for billions each right now. Billions. I mean, it's insane.
It is absolutely insane. And we were talking about the influencers, right? We were influencing as the CIOs for so many years, influencing how technology evolved, yep. Influencing through technology how businesses evolved, and through that, of course, influencing how our own lives and the lives of the people that we worked with that really evolved as well. Yep. So modern CIO, we are at the table. We are at the table as a business leaders. We are at the table as the innovators and the technologists. And we are at the table, very, very importantly, as a human capital managers. Because let's not to forget, CIOs, one of the most important CIOs' job is to manage, grow, develop the human capital.
Yeah. So, well said, well said. So how many of you in the audience have been in tech longer than 35 years? Only 2. Are you kidding me? Okay, 3. 35 years. Almost. I know. I think I beat Alla on this one. Now, you know, when I started in tech 35 years ago, honestly, it was mainframes. I was responsible for the network, security operations centers, and the world has changed so much from there because, you know, I thought about it as a technology job, but if you think about it, there is no company in this world that can survive without technology. You know, and as you know, Alla, because we partner on tech, you know, in Cisco, whether it's a network, whether it's cybersecurity attacks, whether it's infrastructure, your data center, compute, getting ready for AI, it underpins everything, hospitals, bankings, universities, I mean, you name it. But it has drastically changed, right, in my view. The CIO was responsible for applications, infrastructure, cyber. But what about now, Alla? I mean, let's talk about AI and make it a bit practical in terms of what you are facing.
Well, I think it's AI and AI with cybersecurity and AI with data. So when we think about, you know, we started with the modern CIO. What is changed used to be for us looking as a 2, 3, 5, 10-year horizon Now the change is 2 years, right? When we think about
Yeah.
AI, what it brought to the table, it's the speed. Speed of not just innovation, but speed of adoption, speed of what is the art of possible today. And I think this is what we are dealing with right now. If we truly embrace AI and start adopting it at the scale, what will be the most challenging is that change management in a control environment. Because Jacqui, as you said, no one can exist nowadays, exist maybe it's a wrong word, operate without technology. So we have a tremendous responsibility when we bring AI to the table and such a fast pace of the innovation or change and adoption to think about how sustainable it is and now how safe and secure it is, right? Cyber attacks take place practically every single day. That happens across large and small companies. We are partnering with Cisco at a really very innovative level and the transformational level, how to continuously secure our perimeter. So when I think about AI, I don't just think about the innovation and what can bring it to us, but at the same time, all the risks associated with that. And I think this is a really important point.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, you know, talking about cyber attacks, I mean, the reality now is, you know, even we at Cisco, every single company is being attacked every day. And actually, it's not millions of attacks anymore. We're talking billions daily. Some companies, billions daily. You cannot combat that. You cannot defend unless you leverage AI in the same way as attackers are using AI to increase what they're doing, and so we've got to be ready for it, right? We've got to be ready for it. You know, AI to me is no longer an option; it is an imperative. Now, we have to do it responsibly, right? We have to make sure that the way in which we use AI has the right framework. We are securing the data. We are protecting the data. We are making sure it's not biased, because all those things really matter. How are you facing into some of that, Alla, at MUFG?
So I think this is when we started working with AI, the first question was exactly how do we face that, right? There's two things. Data, critically important in order to protect data. But while you're protecting data, you need, for AI, you need world of data in order to train your models. You need that. It's just a simple fact. But at the same time, we needed to ensure that the data that we have and intellectual IP that we have is protected as well. The flip side of the working with AI is how do you secure your environment, but at the same time allow the level of innovation that is required. And it came down to the same really strong practices that we have developed over the course of the year. It's the governance around your development. It's a governance around your SDLC, software development cycles. And it came down to the SecDevOps, right? If you wanted to put the rails, if you wanted to put the really innovative, fast rails, you have to go back to the roots, governance, SDLC, SecDevOps. Ask the right question at the beginning. Zero trust, right? And I think it's not something you think after. It's not something you POC and then come back and just try to figure it out. You evaluate idea on the premises of what it brings to your business and how secure it's going to be.
Yeah. She makes it sound so easy, doesn't she? It's not. It's not. As many of you know, I was CIO at Deutsche Bank, Lloyds Bank, Thomson Reuters before I joined Cisco, and it's not easy. And you make it look easy, Alla, but let's talk about the truth of what a CIO role is, right? So not only is Alla responsible for billions of dollars, managing critical infrastructure, defending against cyber attacks, keeping the bank on, right? Keeping it on, growing the business. But let's flip a little bit from the tech side of your role to the business side of a CIO. So how do you translate technology language to your CEO, which you meet often, to the board, in order to get the support of your strategy, in order to get the investments that you need to make sure you stay modern and you stay ready for the next whatever it is, right?
I think about 3-4 years ago, I started calling what we do applied technologies, right? We remember we all were in applied mathematics. So I think applied technology is something that is really important, especially with what AI brings to the table. that anyone can code, right? Anyone can write now the prompts, anyone can code, and that's going to be more and more prevalent. So what is the technologies we bring to the table? It's understanding of the business. So we are not looking for the full stack technologists. We are looking for technologists who is familiar with payments, technology who is familiar with the customer interactions and onboarding, and the KYC as an end-to-end flow of the business. So that's actually how the roles of technologists is changing and how my role changed. It's how much I was able to invest in business that I run and businesses that I run as a CIO, and how much I understand. Once you change the language, and I think that was, Jacqui, our job, to change the language from cost center, just talking about stability of our environment. Let's talk about remediation of the legacy environment, right? I mean, MUFG is 350-year-old bank, so you can imagine the amount of legacy. So, so as funny as that is, but it's true. So we talk about that as well, but we're not making that as the most important what we bring to the table. We talk about revenue generation. We're talking about building the business that is sustainable and attracting the clients to the business that is sticky, right? That's what we're saying. We don't want one-time customers and clients. We need to start speaking the language of our businesses, and once we do that, you become the most valuable CIO for the business. And in order for us to do that, we really need to understand the business we are running. We cannot just come to the table with our only technology chops and expect to be at the table.
Yeah. So maybe not modern CIO, Alla, but maybe you're the modern influencer, right? Modern influencer, right here. There she is, modern influencer. Why do I say that? Because, you know, in the CIO roles, not only are you influencing the thousands of people that work for you, like I do the thousands of people that work for me, but you're influencing the board, you're influencing the strategy, you're influencing what the right decision is, because there's so much in the technology landscape today. Where do you focus? How do you prioritize? Because I think that's a really hard thing. You've got to prioritize everything from keeping your infrastructure modern, building out new modern data centers to support the new world of AI pods, because you might be building large language models, whatever it might be. Like, how do you navigate through that very complex landscape?
I think operation comes always first. You know, we work
so keep the show on the road, 24/7.
You know, we really need to kind of embrace the business we're working on. I work for the bank, somebody works for the life science, you work for technology. In my world, it's not tech for tech, it's tech for business. So if I'm tech for business, I need to run it. It always comes first. It always comes first in a safe and sound manner. Now the most interesting is about innovation. So there's just so much, as we talked about, happening every day. How do you differentiate, to your point, right, where to invest, where to spend time and money? Because every time we invest, and you know, investment in technology is in millions, hundreds of millions. It's no longer in thousands or hundreds of thousands. So how do you make that decision? When I save money, I don't save money just for the technology. I give that money to the frontline business to invest in order to grow the business. So when I take the capital to spend, I need to make a decision. And when it comes to innovation, you know, for me, I don't want to gamble. I'm not in the business of gambling with POCs or with the bank's money, but I'm in the business of taking the risk, calculated, managed risk. Because with the risk, there is a reward. It's not 100%, but the decision is, what's the business outcome? And I think every single day when we make a decision to where to invest, it's the risk calculation and the reward calculation. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Great. I'm going to switch gears. Let's ask some personal stuff, shall we? Alla doesn't know this is coming, but we were talking backstage earlier before we came up, and we were asking ourselves the question, like, if you actually go home and you think about it, we're responsible for billions of dollars. Okay, you might say, so what? It's just a number. Thousands of people that support critical infrastructure of the world, because you want to be able to take your money out of the bank. You want to be able to go to hospital when the thing's working. Why do you do what you do? Are we insane? Because like sometimes when you step back and think about what we do, it's pretty crazy. And yet we've been doing it for 3 decades. Like maybe if she can answer this one, I might find my own answer, but I haven't figured it out yet. Like why?
So traditional answer would be, I love solving problems, right?
Yeah.
So I think
I like cleaning up the mess.
I like cleaning up the mess. I like solving problems.
I like looking after people.
Yeah, I do.
It's very female thing to say, isn't it?
But the reality is, for all of us to take this on for so many years, I think it's because we like to win. Every time we solve the problem, and it's a real problem, we are winning something for our organization.
We like to win.
We like to win, and let's not be shy about it, right? We build winning teams. We can talk about high performing, but we build winning teams. We build winning businesses because business goes, provides the products and services. They want to win. So why we do that? Because we want to win with the people in our organization. We want to win with our company. We want to win for our shareholders and for our clients. So we want to win.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have been that honest, but I think she might be right.
We just don't want that.
Yeah. Because I used to play basketball, a three-pointer. I played a little bit of soccer. I don't know if you're into sports, and I love winning.
I love soccer.
I love winning. I love winning in teams.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not an individual sport player much, even though I can do tennis and whatnot, but I like winning in teams. And you're absolutely right. I love winning, too. I love winning.
There you go.
So let's talk about the other part of why we are able to be leading these, very complicated, complex functions that we talk about. Because a big part of that is people, right? Talent. So share a little bit about your philosophy on talent and people and how you manage through everything that's going on right now, keeping them motivated, right skill sets, all of the above.
I use this word. I used to work at Goldman Sachs, and I see somebody who was there as well, Tim Walding, sitting there. So HR used to be called human capital management, and that was about 20 years ago.
I remember.
And you remember, that was the first time I heard human capital management. So, and if we think about our people, our team, it's a human capital. And you invest in a capital, and you invest capital, and you invest to grow capital. So I think this is pretty much the secret for any successful leader or manager. You are going to get back as much as you invest. And you need to think about growing people, training people, providing opportunity to people, and let's not forget, be very, very honest, because we own that to our people. Be honest with them what their prospects are, what the opportunities are. My philosophy is there is a successful job for absolutely everyone. It may not be what the job you're doing right now, but there is a job that you're going to be awfully successful. Yep. So we need to have the great conversations about great careers. At the same time, we need to be honest and gutsy to have a conversation when somebody needs to actually move away and move into something else. And I think that's leadership is about honesty, long-term investment in people.
Yeah. So let's talk about talent. Let's talk about, I think, Callie, you mentioned this yesterday in your fantastic session, the human in the loop.
Yes.
The human in the loop. What does that mean? The human in the loop of AI. I mean, humans are critical for AI, right? They're absolutely critical. So it's more than in the loop. The side part of that question I have, Alla, is about talent, right? And not having the fear of what is coming, but leaning into it. And the side part of my question is, how many times have you redefined yourself in your career? And then talk about how you have done that in the context of what people need to lean into and not be afraid of in terms of the next revolution of technology.
I think the biggest redefining moments of my career were going from application development world into the infrastructure. I didn't know anything about it. So
I did it the other way around.
You did it the other way around. I went that way, and a lot of people were shocked, like why would I ever want to do it? With application development, you are next to the business, it's much more glamorous and so on and so forth. Infrastructure is a back end. And I think the redefining was, if you really want to be successful at something, you really need to understand soup to nuts. You need to develop subject matter expertise, not just kind of on the surface, but to be able to really understand how things work. And I think this was one of the redefining moments for me, because I realized if I continue doing that, investing time and effort to truly understand end to end, that being the technology, that being cybersecurity, network storage, infrastructure, application, full stack development, AI now. And in parallel with that, now I learned how the business operates, what's the business flow is end to end. Like I work in the markets technology front end, and then I went back end, back office, and middle office. Again, like why would you do that? Yeah. It's not glamorous. I was like, wait, now I know how it works. So I think the redefining moment of the career is to really embrace the learning and not to be afraid and not to think about what others will say. Just build the breadth and depth. And subsequently, just with AI, 2 years ago, AI was all about LLMs and was all about, for people, prompt development, right? How many engineers can we send to the prompt development? Nobody cares about prompt development now because we can speak the native human language. Yeah. What AI brings to the table is complete democratization of the technology. It's a human language. Yeah. So embrace it. Human in the middle always is going to be human in the middle. We're always going to be there telling technology, that being AI, robotics, ML, whatever it's going to be, what to do and how to think about it.
Yeah, agreed. So what are we going to do next, Alla? I mean, you know, we got these big jobs, like kick-ass jobs, and we're winning, yes. And we keep relearning, and we keep reinventing ourselves, and we've been doing it for 30-something years, and we were talking about this backstage earlier as well. What are we going to do next?
We're going to continue doing what we're doing while we can, yeah. And bringing the people with us, developing the next level leadership. Yes. And I think that is one, to your earlier question, how do we embrace it? How do we embrace and help people to embrace what's coming next? Because there's not much of a difference that us embracing back when internet, then it was re-engineering, then it was cloud, yep. So on and so forth, right? The SaaS applications, cybersecurity scares. We were embracing, we figured out how to adopt it, we figured out how to be good at it. And I think we need to help the current leadership coming up to learn how to adapt and not to be afraid of the change. Yeah. And I think that's what is next, in whatever fashion it's going to be.
There you go. Yeah, well said. By the way, one of the things I love doing, and Alla and I were talking about this, is I love hiring people better than me. Yeah. I love figuring out how many successes do I have, and can I go do something else? Because I get bored after 3 or 4 years. I do. I want to go like do big things, you know, and creating that environment about like doing big things. I think we're in a moment that will define the next 10, 20 years. So what does the future of the CIO look like? Final question, 60 seconds. No pressure.
Future of CIO is define what the next business is going to be for your business. So define the business. We always were supporting business. Now we need to define the business. I encourage every single one of you think about it that way.
Excellent. Thank you, Alla. You're an amazing superstar. I wish you all the best in the next phase of MUFG. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jacqui, very much. Love doing this.